Successive droughts, unseasonal rains, soaring prices of pulses, rising farmer suicides. Clearly, agriculture has been making headlines for all the wrong reasons. But can enough be done to ensure that we revive and rejuvenate the agriculture sector and make sure that it is driving the growth of the rural economy and the growth of India? Hello and welcome to this very, very special session. We come to you from the World Economic Forum's National Strategy Day. I'm Shweta Rajpal Kohli, and we have a power-packed panel with us today. With me here, of course, Devendra Fadnavis, Chief Minister of Maharashtra, Harsimrat Kaur Badal, Minister of Food Processing. We've got Siraj Chaudhary, Chairman Cargill India, and Ajayveer Jhakar, Chairman Bharat Krishak Samaj. Thank you all for being with us here. Let me open the session by getting an overall perspective on what is ailing India's agriculture sector. Why is it that despite so many attempts being made by governments for decades, we're still struggling to deal with some of the very, very basic issues? Minister Badal, if I could actually start by getting your overall perspective on what you believe needs to be done to fix the overall agriculture sector in India.
You're absolutely right in saying that agriculture is one sector which has the potential to not only drive our economy, but I would say linked with food processing, it actually has the potential to play that catalytic role which is required not only to uplift agriculture and the farmer and add to his income, but to address the huge issue of high wastages in our country. If these wastages were controlled, it would bring down inflation. And I genuinely believe that the more the food processing industry explodes or expands and progresses, this will not only just create lots of jobs, but will actually upgrade the farmer and his income to a very large extent, because this partnership between the farmer and the industry is what the food processing industry brings in. Today, the farmer's plight in our entire country is rather dismal, where the costs of inputs have gone up, but the output is not bringing in the kind of income required. Added to this, we have the weather playing havoc every year. I come from a so-called prosperous farming state, but last 6 years, there's either been a drought or surplus of rain, or there's been a pest attack. And for a farmer who's barely living hand to mouth and undergoing debt just to sustain himself, one experience from the weather gods is enough to clear him out. And that's probably the reason why we're seeing these increasing farmer suicides all over the country.
Right.
So the need of the hour is to tie up farming with the industry. This cooperative farming between the industry and the farmer is where the industry will put in the resources that is required in our agriculture sector, which the farmer doesn't have the resources to do, and assured raw material from the farmer is what will drive this industry, which is at a very nascent stage, the food processing industry, but has the potential to catapult this entire sector into addressing, like I said, not just bringing down inflation, providing jobs, increasing farmer income, and reducing wastage in this growing population, where every year our population is increasing, and because of that, probably the land which is cultivable is decreasing. So to address this issue, there's zero tolerance for wastage, I feel.
Zero tolerance for wastage, and I think you've clearly hit the nail on the head. We're going to talk a lot about food wastage, what needs to be done to ensure we're able to curb that, because that remains a sad irony, really, that for a country where there is such abundant food production, the kind of wastages that we see are absolutely unacceptable. Devendra Fadnavis, you're clearly a young, dynamic Chief Minister. Congratulations on completing 1 year in office. You've had a long list of achievements. Among that, many which we will talk about also include public-private partnerships within the agriculture space, what you're doing for water conservation. But many of your critics, when you look back in the last 1 year, would perhaps say the rising number of farmer suicides in your state would go down as one disappointment or perhaps failure. Would you agree with that?
See, it's a legacy which we have inherited. I won't blame on anybody. But if you look at Maharashtra, you'll find one thing. 82% of agriculture in Maharashtra is dryland farming, despite 40% of the big dams in entire India exist in Maharashtra. So unless you give assured irrigation to the farmers, and with the climate change effects, you see, you have a very good rainfall in June, and then a 40-day dry spell.
Right.
When we took over, we inherited 24,000 villages which were facing drought. Again, in the Rabi season, there was hailstorm, excessive rainfall, and now again in the Kharif season, we have 15,000 villages which are again facing drought. So what we need to really do is two things. One is to actually give assured irrigation to our farmers, because till they are dependent only on the rain god, and these days the rain god is actually playing havocs. So for that, actually in last 1 year, we have started our initiative called Jalyukt Shivar, where we are trying to create distributed water structures. And it's a watershed based initiative where in just 9 to 10 months we could complete 1,25,000 works, and 35,000 works are in progress. In 6,200 villages, in just 9 months of time, we could actually store 24 TMC water. And 24 TMC water is around water which can irrigate 6 lakh hectares of land. So I feel that such initiative, and I must say that it has succeeded not because just government has done it, but it was an initiative where there was a lot of public participation.
Sure.
More than 300 crore rupees were contributed by the farmers and people.
Right.
So I think that on one hand, we are trying to create distributed water structures through which we are trying to actually give assured irrigation, and on other hand, we also require to create post-harvest, supply chains and post-harvest techniques, wherein actually what Ma'am Badal has said, that there is so much of wastage, there is so much of problem in marketing. The farmers are not getting the proper prices because it's not linked with the industry. Unless we create the value chains, it's not possible. I'm happy to share that with the World Economic Forum, the PPP IID project,
Yes.
which the Maharashtra government has, it has created few value chains. Around 500,000 farmers are into various value chains, wherein the grains of the products are directly procured from them and they are processed. So farmers are getting good know-how, they are getting good seeds, at the same time they are getting good prices. But I think we need to scale it to let's say 2.5 million.
Okay.
Because it's right now it's just I would say in such a huge state, 5 lakh farmer is just a demonstrative project. We need to take it to scale.
Scaling it up is important, and it's interesting, Mr. Chaudhary, that you've got a minister in the government, a chief minister of a very, very important state, everybody talking about public-private partnership, industry being part of agriculture, industry contributing in its own way to make sure that we can address some of the very, very pressing issues. But it's not the first time that we're hearing this term PPP, public-private partnership. We should get the industry to come in. We've heard in the past also many attempts that have been made. Why is it that we're not being able to see it actually function in a way it should? And what, according to you, are some of the solutions that can emerge?
Yeah. Historically, Indian farming has been a tripartite agreement between God, government, and the farmer, where, the farmers existed with faith in God, trust in government, and confidence in his own toil. Now, that equation somehow has got disrupted, where God has probably decided to look at other things. The government has probably
Has
been
the government decided to look at other things
No,
also?
the government is less engaged, I would say, and it's not like today or yesterday. It's been over a period of time. And the farmer, therefore, is left to toil on his own. Now, the PPP model actually introduces another player in this equation. Now, historically, the farmer has grown with the mindset of not trusting the trade. If you refer to the old Hindi movies, the exploiter was the trade. And
Right.
so he's been at the receiving end of either poor inputs or no takers for his crop. So the government has stepped in to support the farmer, but it's been more of a short-term help. It's about subsidies, it's about increasing support prices, but it's not really about growing agriculture. And I think that's where now, with this changed equation, there is a need for a new player to come in, and which is the industry. Now,
Sure.
the trade has metamorphosed into industry. It's not the small trader anymore. These are large corporations. And therefore, there is a difference in intent, and there's a difference in approach. Why it is important to have PPP here is because we need to build that trust in that system. And the government is actually, expected to play a role to be the bridge in building that trust between the farmer and the industry. over a period of time, and as we've seen in many other countries, the government doesn't necessarily need to be there. Once the farmer and the industry has established a mutually dependent relationship, the government needn't be there. But except for the fact of providing facilitative policy framework. And therefore, what we are seeing is just a beginning. And it's not really about just agriculture in a broad-based thing. What Mrs. Badal said was very relevant. The agriculture has to be relevant to the market. And that's what the industry does. It links the market to the farm. In India, our big problem has been that we've been focusing on agriculture while the rest of the developed world or more agriculturally advanced countries have actually
investing in
looked
the
at
value chain.
agriculture moving to agri-business. And that's the step that we need to take more
We need to
vigorously.
invest in that value chain, and that's
Absolutely.
something that is right now the missing piece, and that needs to be done. Ajay Jakhar, it's important to understand the plight of farmers in the country right now. It's not for no reason that we see farmer suicides making headlines. The numbers are absolutely shocking. It is painful to have, for instance, a young girl in Maharashtra, a farmer's daughter, committing suicide just because she didn't have enough money to buy a bus pass, writing a very, very, very important note talking about the kind of debt that farmers find themselves in, and in many ways a wake-up call for our policymakers. Would you like to share your thoughts right now? Do you think the government is seized of the kind of plight that the farmers are facing in the country right now?
See, for the last 2 years, we've been having bad weather, and we've also been having simultaneously low international commodity prices. And together, this has taken a toll. But to blame farmer suicides to weather or to international commodity prices would be wrong. I think it's farm policy over the years that is responsible for farmer suicides today. And I have great sympathies for the Chief Minister from Maharashtra because he has inherited something which happened over 10 years. And he's expected farmers, I've been to Maharashtra, I've spent days there, they expect him to solve problems in 1 year.
Overnight, right.
And it's not going to happen. And constantly at the World Economic Forum and other issues, we are talking about public-private partnerships. What I really think is required is a different PPP. It's a public-public partnership. I'll just give you an example. We have the Minister for Food Processing here, and I don't say this because she's here, but I think she's the most dynamic food processing minister we've had in ages. But her hands are tied. If Indian Council of Agriculture Research and private research can't get you processing varieties to process, what is the food processing ministry going to process? Are they talking to each other? They're not talking to each other. Are there new varieties? They're not talking. So we have fundamental issues that need to be solved. And I think so that's the crux of the situation, is that the different departments within the agriculture ministry don't talk to each other. The different ministries don't talk to each other. The central ministries don't talk to the state governments. And that's the first partnership we require. And Modi ji has very clearly said that ease of doing business. I think so ease of doing business within the governments